welcome to another episode of On the Spot Painting, and just want to give you a hello, and to any new subscribers. This is something I've been doing, basically just drawing something that I haven't presented here on the video before, and instructional kind of follow through kind of videos. So what we're going to do is a lighthouse today. I was mentioning in my last video that it'd be great to do a lighthouse and something like that. And I've been doing lighthouses for a long time. And what I'm going to talk about today is when you're doing any painting or whatever, how important adding details and texture is to a painting. And I just want to show a really quick, I mean, this is kind of a crude illustration, but I just want to show you because I feel like it's important. So I have one sketch here of a lighthouse, and it's very crude and just a sketch, but sometimes when we're artists, we get kind of I don't know, you say lazy. You just don't feel like drawing all the details and all the textures and all this stuff. But the thing is, what you're doing is it's a maybe okay picture, it's a nice picture, but it's flat, it's kind of, there's no detail. So when you add some detail to it, and I redrew it, I kind of changed it up a little bit. It's not quite like the same lighthouse, but I want to show you of a picture of a lighthouse with a little more texture and details. Now I could have really gone out and did a lot more, but I just want to show you just a brief example of what adding details and textures can do. So especially when you add the little things that would cause interest to your painting, waves, rocks, plants, bushes and stuff, the shadow, those kind of things bring more interest. So if you compare the two pictures, you would see, wow, he spent a little more time on the second one versus the first one. So, and it also shows your quality of work. And a lot of times I know we kind of, it's not exactly easy to, I'm trying to grab these papers. I know it's not always easy to go into that detail mode, but that's what makes it even better. So right now, we're going to do, I don't know how far we're going to get into this video. Hopefully we'll get into the painting part soon, but I'm going to draw out the lighthouse. Usually, I don't, and just to give you a little, I don't do anything out from a photograph or anything. These are all completely out of my head. The hardest part, I guess, would be to make sure that the angle is right, so they don't look like it's a lopsided lighthouse. But some of that can be adjusted while you're actually doing the painting too. So don't worry if you didn't draw these lines just right or whatever, you can always go back. See. You can always go back and kind of work on it and fix it a little bit. And I had the horizon line here. That's where the ocean would be. I've been doing them so much. I printed out a little piece of paper telling me all the different parts of the lighthouse, and I misplaced it actually. So I'm just gonna, I mean to shake the camera again. Eventually down the line I'll get this worked on where I don't have to worry about that shaking too much. I got a lot of fans going on too, so. And then I usually like to add a little house to the side there, so it's like a door. So again, the sketch is just basically, I'm just trying to get out putting in where I'm going to put in the painting here. So Then I come over just a little bit of kneaded eraser to soften it up a little bit. Hopefully that's still being seen on the camera, so that's why I'm a little concerned about erasing it too much, but well, let me get back to you. I'm going to draw out the scenes real quick and then I'll get right back to you. Okay, I'm back again. I really just kind of sketched out the, didn't really do too much, to be honest, because we're going to make this kind of simple design. Little, I can't keep saying sorry about that. We did the rock right here going up into where the water would be, and then the ocean. So again, that might change a little bit as we go, but I kind of gave it a little bit of a lot of times I don't actually draw out the painting that I'm doing, so just try to get a little kind of direction where we're going to go today on this painting, so that's what I wanted to do. Okay, so I think we'll start out with the clouds. Again, I mentioned last time I don't do masking, and I'm not opposed to it either. I just had a tricky time doing it. But I find that I could still get the results that I want to get from. And even doing washes and stuff like that, I tried a lot of different things. What I'm doing is going over here with just a bit of a, sound kind of like close to turquoise, picking up a little bit of blue, almost purple. And I like to leave a little bit of the white, because it kind of adds like the streaks of clouds going in there. And believe me, I do know that I would know the advantage of doing the masking, because you could do this and then go over this part and not worry about, you know, going over it. And maybe one day I will I don't want to shake the camera too much. I pull a little bit of too much blue on there, but then you can kind of take it and just sort of blend it with a little paper. I mean, a little bit of the brush and a little extra water on the paper. You know, actually, a lot of times I actually don't work in the background first. I usually do the lighthouse and then I work in the background. But today, we're just gonna, for the sake of everything, we're just gonna be able to do that. And I will get back to this part here. I still want to kind of keep it the light in the sky and almost kind of loose in that fact, without adding too much detail to the, you know, adding that kind of wet. It's almost a wet and wet effect, probably close as wet and wet as I get in my watercolor. So I'm going to avoid this area just right now because of it still being wet, and I don't want it to bleed into the the sky when I'm doing the lighthouses. So right now, we're going to do the hill side. So I pull from a little bit of yellow. I have yellow blended in here already. This yellow is pretty much almost taken on a green tone because it's been in there for so long next to the blues. And then if I needed to, I can go in with the yellow here without making this too green and giving it another. So now I just need to figure out where I'm going to have the light coming from. I think I'm going to have the light coming from this way. So we're going to have it a little lighter here. I'm trying purposely not to shake the table too much here so that I could now I like to typically add a little bit more yellow here to the side. Not too much, but you also want to rely on the light of your paper. But then that'll be kind of adding the yellow from the sky there, where the sun will be at. Okay. I notice I am going over some pencil marks that I had, but it's okay. We'll work that out. Those really, when you draw your pencil marks, or they're sort of your guide where to go. You know, you don't have to follow it to the T unless you're drawing something very precise. But this is, I'm kind of giving a general idea where I want my objects to be right now. So then I'm going to pull a little bit of yellow over here, almost a yellow orange, and that'll be for the sand. Now again, a lot of this is out of my head, but it's also freeing in a way because then you're not worrying about being precise on a photograph and stuff like that. So if you watch some of my videos, I've actually done some time-lapse ones. I do apologize sometimes for the I wish the filming was a little more clear or bigger, so, but I'm working on that. So, but I thought those turned out really good. If you ever get a chance to watch A Peaceful Setting, oh boy, it's one of my first lighthouse videos in a stressful time. It was I'll have to get back to you on the exact name of that one, title, but yeah, I do encourage you to watch that one. That was one of actually got a lot of people got I got a lot of views from that one when I put it up eventually. So I was very happy with that one actually. I am working a little faster because I just want to show you guys what I'm doing without having turning this into 5 or 6 different videos, which I do not mind. But for something like this, it's not going to be too complicated. So remember, I added the little darker, picking up a little blue. So if you add more blue to the green, you're going to get a darker green out of it. So. And that's going to be where the shadows are going to be. So. It's a little different because I usually do this. I'm not talking when I'm doing this. I'm just drawing these paintings, so I'm not really putting a lot of thought to how I'm going to direct somebody how to paint this. But And hopefully you'll get the idea of what to do. Just adding a little darker. But you want to make sure that the shadow, you don't want to have one shadow over here when the light's supposed to come over here, so you want to keep it one side where there's a shadow. And there's always tricky to figure out the shadow parts. I honestly, on some paintings, it's okay. So now feel that's kind of dry. I go over with just a little bit of kind of brown, a little bit of purple. I don't want to go too much with my shadows there. Just to the side here. Okay. So you can already see it kind of forming already where the lighthouse would be, and then so all this part is just sort of preliminary. This is all, when somebody's watching you paint, you're like, well, how come this isn't this way? How come that isn't that way? And honestly, it takes time. It's not going to have all the details yet. I mean, if you probably watch some of anybody's videos or even one of my videos, time lapse, you get to see how it looked from before to the end of the painting. It's like you see the end of it and it's like, wow, it didn't look like it did from the beginning. And of course not. It won't look like that. But all these parts here are very important. For me today, I'm just trying to be very patient. What I'm learning is that I can't shake the table too much because it's going to distract from you, and also trying to keep a straight line. So if you don't mind here, I'm just going to go over here. Just try to keep it a straight line as possible. I might have gone a little bit over, but I'm kind of softening it up, bringing it over. See, all these little details will come together. I mean, that'll just make it, leaving a little white in the ocean there adds a pretty neat effect. Sometimes I go over to a different size pencil. So right now, I am going to make, this is sometimes a little tricky to show, but a lot of times you're not seeing me do it. You're wondering what I'm doing. So I'm going to make a little, I could either do dark blue or almost a really kind of Payne's gray, really dark tones, almost as if somebody added with a black paint. So that's what we're going to kind of do. But I'm going to say this could be very close to dark blue paint here on the lighthouse here. Then you want to leave a little where the light would be right here. You want to make sure that there's a glass for it. I don't know how much this is going to pick up from on the camera. Hopefully as good as possible. Then again, that's going to go lighter as it gets closer to the light, but that's really putting the shape into where the top of the lighthouse would go. Okay. where you go into the lighthouse. See, when you put these little effects here, I guess you would say, or little details in the painting here, it draws it to your attention and brings it to kind of starts forming the painting. You start seeing it, and you're like, wow, that's coming along. And that's the magic, I guess, of when you're doing your artwork. And you'll figure this out on your own. All I'm doing is taking some lines and taking some darker tones of green and adding it to here and giving that shape of the grass and just shaping the hillside, or like, you know, the grass would be growing on top of the hill like that, and that just draws the interest to your lighthouse. And so there's those little things that, you know, make it pop. So like right here, I'll do a little bit of, maybe take a little blue and go across here. And so this is drawing the interest into the where the ocean would be. Or actually that'd be a little bit of white, but you know, later on we'll add that. Or leaving that kind of white right here where the foam of the ocean will come. Let's say the oceans are not, this wave is not a very big wave, it's just sort of like they're almost a peaceful setting that's we're getting. But as you draw these little details, that's what draws your interest and draws the person's eye to look at the little details, and that's kind of like your, because before that, you're not really getting that, you know, what's coming across is not showing when you start doing those details. That's where you get the people's interest, you get the interest of the painting itself, and it's very interesting how it could work out. So we are going to call it quits right now on this painting. It's been pretty fun. We're going to definitely, you know, continue on. So again, I just wanted to add those little details, the textures, just to show you where you began. So there you go. So you have the, before we go, I might add one little thing. This might go over here with this a little bit of a little more purple and blue. And I'm going to add a little shadow. But now this is not very dark purple. This is just a very light amount there. I'm just going to get that come across, that neat little effect from the shadow of the, and then some here too there. So again, part of that is I was actually drawing a little bit away from the, that can happen sometimes. You're drawing some of the blue away from what you're looking, the lighthouse itself, the top part. But then I'll take some of that blue here, down here into the shadow. And that's where you start forming the hillside. So again, without all the details, it's going to look very flat. It's going to look very, you know, with all the details is what gives it that 3 dimension. It gives it that more effect, where you want to have the foreground, the middle ground, where this would be more or less almost the middle ground, and the lighthouse would be more in the middle of the ground, because that's the your focal point really where you want to draw it. But the background would be the ocean, so, and the sky. So this is just a good start. Thank you for joining me on the spot. I just hope you enjoy this new series. We're starting with a lighthouse. I don't want to go, you know, quite a few episodes, maybe 3 or 4 if possible on this one project. But we're getting quite a bit done, and so it's really looking where it, you know, a lot of little details adding later on. You can add to the grass. We're going to add to the water. It's going to be quite fun, and hopefully you've had an idea how to do it. Just remember to draw out the lighthouse first, the hill. If you don't have it exactly like I do, don't worry about it. Just draw it, because these are really out of my head anyway. So just want to encourage you to draw the best you can, even if it turns out, you know, crooked or something. It doesn't matter. It's fine, because you're practicing. You're really giving it a shot. You're trying, and that's all that matters, because it comes over time. Practice makes perfect. Sounds kind of cliche. It sounds kind of like, you know, you said it before, but it does really make a difference. You can ask any artist or musicians out there. They practice, and that's why they do. So you just don't get it like in a second. Some people may. Some people really do. I really honestly think that's true. But for me, it took a very long time to get it to where I'm at now in my paintings. But just want to encourage you, and thank you for joining me on the spot.